So my name is Gabi. I was a trio coach and tutor up until June, and I was an ASU grad mom. And I'll tell you a little bit more about me. But I'm really glad you guys are here. I know I'm really informal, I'm a student too. Will be for the next 7 years of my life. So if you have any questions while I talk, or if you need clarification, just let me know. You don't have to wait till the end. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is that everybody's path to medical school or any kind of professional school is going to be different. So, don't really compare yourself like, oh, because I don't have the grades or because I don't have this more experience that I do or anybody else does. It doesn't mean that you won't get there. It just means that you're going a different way to get there. So, a little bit more about me. I grew up in Arizona and I went to ASU for my undergrad and my graduate degree. I actually wasn't pre-med until my senior year in college. I was a global studies major. I thought that I was gonna, change the world, be a diplomat, whatever, single-handedly do it myself. But when I actually had an internship, I saw that you can't really do that. The world is a lot more complex these days. So I decided to be pre-med because, I wanted to help people, and I thought that was the best way I could do it. So I graduated in global studies, and I took an extra year to do my prerequisite courses and also get some clinical experiences. And in between then, I did a Master's of Science in Healthcare Delivery here at ASU, and it's one of the accelerated programs. If you guys have a gap year, or if you guys need something to boost your resume or make your resume look a little bit more enticing for medical school, I really recommend the program. It's really great, and you get to do a full year internship now with really amazing healthcare organizations in the Valley. I did mine at Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, so. And I'm also a medical student. I'm going to be starting Ross University in September. I actually on Friday, which is really soon. So a little bit more about what I did. The first 4 years of my undergrad, I worked at Financial Aid in Tempe, and I was also in a multicultural service sorority, and I had a lot of leadership positions in it. I was really involved. And then towards the last year of my undergrad degree and my master's degree, I was a trio coach and tutor. I also became a volunteer scribe and interpreter for St. Vincent de Paul. And I was employed as a scribe at Banner, Boswell, and Del Webb in Sun City. And do you guys know what a scribe is? Mm-hmm. No? Okay. So basically, I follow doctors around and I do the charts. So you get to learn the eight of the most important parts of the chart. So if you're going to be a nurse, a PA, a physician assistant, or anybody who's going to be charting, or if you're going to be any person that has any contact with a patient, you're going to have to do charting. So if you already have that experience before you go to medical school, or any kind of professional school or training, it gives you a little bit of a leg up, and you already know medical terms, and you kind of know how to document in a chart for insurance purposes and also for yourself. Okay, and then so now, looking back on my journey, what I would do differently, for the MCAT, first of all, I would set aside a lot more study time. So I really condensed all my classes because I thought, hey, I'm getting old, I need to get to it. So I didn't finish. Yeah, go ahead.
What is the MCAT like?
So the MCAT, it's similar to the SAT or the ACT,
okay,
but it's specifically for medical school.
Okay.
So if you're going into law school, for example, they have the LSAT. If you're going into dental school, it's the DAT, I think. And if you're going into pharmacy school, it's the PCAT.
Yeah, so basically after you're done with your bachelor's degree, anytime when you're doing the graduate level and beyond, they're usually going to ask for a very common one is the GRE that's more of the general. And then what Gabi is saying in regards to the specific law school, med school, then they have their own also. But it's the way how I put it is SAT or ACT, but it's the upper echelon.
Yeah. It's like the SAT or ACT on crack. It's a 7-hour test, and it's really intense. So I didn't take enough time to study for it, especially because I condensed everything. So I didn't have like as great of like a foundation of knowledge as I could have, which, you know, I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But you can just see that in my score. So the average score for the MCAT is 500. That's like not even like a competitive score or like a really, really great score. It's just like your average score to be like considered for medical schools. And I got a 492. So that was like a lot below average. Also for my prereqs, like I said, I was like in a lot of a hurry. I was like, I'm getting old, like I need to get to it. I'm 24 by the way, so I'm not actually that old.
Yeah, when she says she's old, I'm like,
She's old to be like freshman in med school.
But you know, I didn't think about it and what it means to like want to be a doctor and like be able to, you know, you're in it. This is a marathon. Like by no stretch of the imagination is this a sprint. You know, I'm going to be in school for the next 4 years after having done an undergrad and a master's degree and then a year of just prerequisite courses. And after 4 years of medical school, you have to do residency, which is anywhere from 3 to 7 years. So it's, you know, you have to. You know.
there's a light at the end of the tunnel,
Yeah,
but it's just a
yeah.
little far right now.
Yeah, it's still pretty far for me. So basically what I'm trying to say with all that tangent is take your time. You know, if you feel like you need to take a gap year, if you feel like you want to go do something else before you come back to like professional school, do it. You know, take that time. In fact, a lot of medical schools are encouraging it right now because they want to make sure that the students who become doctors, they will be a doctor for the long haul. They don't want somebody who's going to burn out after like 3 years after residency. And then another thing about condensing my classes, you know, my GPA was low because I was taking 3 or 4 science classes with labs in one semester. Which your advisors will all tell you not to do. Don't listen to them. Listen to them. Listen to me. You know, don't do that. And then another thing is that my application was late. 1, because I was indecisive, and 2, because I didn't get my letters of recommendation early. So every school, no matter what they say on their application, like website, they will ask you for a letter of recommendation from a science professor. So make sure, like right now, like freshmen, sophomores, even if you're a senior, try to make connections with your science professors so they can write you those letters. And you're not scrambling at the end like I was to get the science letters. Secondly, like I kind of touched on this before, apply early because the number of students that are applying to medical school in particular is somewhere around like 20,000. And there's only like somewhere like 2,000 spots. It's like a 20 to 1 chance that you're gonna get it. It's like an exaggerated amount, you know? So if you apply late, you kind of already limit your chances of getting an interview, of getting secondaries, or of getting in. So make sure you apply early. And if, like, all the applications start in June, that's when they all open. I didn't submit until October, and that is like way too late. So I would say if you don't have it in by like July or August, consider waiting another year. Because it's really expensive to apply, and you don't want to waste your money by not giving yourself a fair shot. And then the other thing is that because I was a scribe, and because I was trying to do so many things at one time, I didn't get a chance to really like shadow any doctors. So even right now, I'd be like, oh, it would have been so cool to shadow like a gynecologist. It would have been so cool to shadow a surgeon. So I didn't give myself that time. So you all have to like, you know, like make sure you think about what specialty you would like to get more information from.
Do you have to apply to be shadow or?
Yeah, so you do have to apply to be a shadow, and every doctor or hospital or organization will have a different way to do this. I'm not super familiar on the options, but I know the pre-health advising, which I'll have more information on later, they can help you find places to shadow or even career services. But for the most part, you'll have to do like a background check, and you'll have to do some kind of like training to be able to be that close to a patient and have access to you know, personal confidential information. Okay, so I ended up choosing to go to a Caribbean school. So it really came down to 3 factors, and it was just time, money, and because I had a really good interview experience. So time, I just didn't want to wait another year. Like I said, I was in a rush. I was like ready to get cracking on those 4 years of medical school. And then money, it's really expensive to apply to medical school. Like I said that a lot, and it's because it's super expensive. So start saving your money, you know, get some jobs, save your grants, or there's another option later, but yeah, so definitely do that. Also, like, what you also have to consider is that if you decide to do a gap year, if you do a master's, if you do post-bac, you're gonna have to pay for them. So, you know, not that money should be a deterrent, but you have to be practical about it. You know, like don't extend your bachelor's degree by like 20 billion years and then you run out of like financial aid money to be able to do a post-bac or be able to do a master's degree. And then my interview experience, I had Caribbean schools do kind of a different interview experience. In American medical schools, they do like a multiple mini interviews, which is basically scenario based to see how you act under pressure and stress and uncertainty. And mine was just like a normal interview, and I felt like I blew it out of the water.
So it's into like Caribbean islands?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
So the island I'm gonna be on is called Dominica.
Oh, wow.
It's super far. I'll show you a map later, but it's very far. But so one of the things that you have to consider is that you're going to be living, if you decide to do Caribbean schools, you're going to be living abroad for 2 years. So that means you have to have a passport, and you know you're gonna be homesick. You're gonna have to like make new friends because chances are you're not going to know anybody who's going to school with you. I don't know anybody who's going to school. Secondly, when you go, like you can't go and like chill. Like you need to do like amazing, like coming out of the box. So step 1 and step 2 are licensing exams that all medical students have to take. So step 1 you take after 2nd year, and step 2 you take after 4th year. Because you're going to Caribbean school, you have to do better on those to be able to place into a good residency on your first time.
There was three steps.
There is 3 steps, but these are just the ones in medical school. So
What's the third
the third one is after residency. So that's to become like a board certified physician. But those 2 are just the ones that you have to do like almost even better on than if you were going to an American medical school. Because those 2, if you don't do well on either one of those, it could limit your chances to get a residency. And step 3 is just, you know, you already have the residency, it's just to be board certified. And secondly, because of that difficulty in getting residency, most students who go to Caribbean schools end up doing primary care. So that means, you know, that's like your pediatricians, that's your family practice, obstetricians and gynecologists, so the people who deliver babies, and also internal medicine. And so you will be a foreign medical school graduate, but that means, you know, it's not really a big deal. It just means that you didn't go to school in the United States. And there's only 4 schools in the Caribbean that offer federal financial aid, and my school is one of them. Okay, so now getting into like other stuff, not my personal stuff. So for grades, it is important to get good grades, mostly because application committees have to know that you're going to do well in school. Secondly, try to get A's and B's. If you don't, you know, it happens. Don't withdraw though, because on all your applications it'll ask you why you withdrew from any classes and how many you withdrew from. So they can see all that and they will ask you. So just keep that in mind, you know, as you're doing your classes. If your GPA needs a boost or anything, some things you can do to make it better are to take more science classes, to do a post-baccalaureate degree, or to do like a master's degree. Just make sure that if you do a master's degree, it has an emphasis on health and science. So it actually helps boost your science GPA. Because medical schools separate science GPAs and your regular class GPAs.
So they look at like your grades more so than like if you're taking harder classes. Like say like, so if you're doing, like for example, I this year only had to take math 117.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I kind of want to take, you know, like challenge myself more because I took like AP Calc my senior year. And so they were like, my counselors were like, well, you should just take the easier one because then you'll get like a good A in it and then it'll boost your GPA.
That is something you have to weigh, and it's really difficult
Okay.
to say like, take the easy class to get the A. Because on one hand, you really have to like take control of like your learning, you know. And if you don't challenge yourself, you don't like grow, you don't learn, whatever. But you also have to be realistic that your GPA, like, it's pretty important. So if you do take, I mean, I wouldn't discourage you from taking a harder class. I would just say make sure that you don't overload yourself with your other classes, and that you come like prepared, you know, to go to office hours, to get tutoring, to, you know, to get the help that you need so that you can be successful in that course, and it doesn't negatively impact your GPA. I don't know if any of you have experienced this yet, but GPAs take a long time to restore, but not that long to just write. Yeah.
The other thing I want to add to what Gabi was saying too is that in addition to, you know, kind of up to you, right? You want that easy A or do you want the challenge? The other thing is you don't know how these medical schools will truly evaluate your record, right? They have the set of criteria on the outside, but the actual evaluator, the people, they might be really looking at your transcript even closely, like what kind of courses, right? Are they challenging? So there's other factors to it too. So kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is being proactive when you know if you're taking a hard class and you know right off the bat, like, hey, I'm gonna need help. Get the tutoring help immediately. You know, don't wait until you're like halfway through the class, then realize, yeah, a tutor will be helpful now. Well, you know, then now you're going to deal with the GPA. Once it drops, if you get a bad letter grade, you know, it just takes a lot harder to bring it back up.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. And then on this next slide, there are common prereqs. So all the schools have kind of different requirements, but these are just the ones that I saw when I was applying schools. So for sure, you will need general biology, general chemistry, physics, OChem, and English. And also, I didn't remember, but math. A lot of schools are requiring math now up until calculus, I want to say. Some schools only require 1 semester of math, but more advanced schools require more math. So keep that in mind, friends. Oh, also, pay attention to your psychology and your humanities courses. Because I'm sure you guys will, if you guys watch the news, if you guys are on BuzzFeed or Facebook, you see a lot of things where doctors do things that you're like, what in the world are you thinking? And that's because in past years, it's been more emphasized to, you know, people that they select to go into medical school are really smart, but they don't necessarily have the best skills that are relating to people. So that's why they kind of revamped the application and the MCAT to include more humanities and, you know, like social science kind of stuff to make sure that, you know, yeah, you're smart, you can treat patients, but you can also like relate to your patient, you can talk to them. And then other classes that are recommended but aren't necessary are micro, anatomy and physiology, immunology, and genetics. And there's a few other ones, but those are just the main ones that are offered at ASU. But a lot of those recommended courses are really hard. So, you know, take those at your own risk. And extracurriculars are also really important. If you have really great extracurriculars, they can help to outweigh maybe a not so great GPA. Not only will it help in that sense, it'll help you be more well-rounded as a candidate, and it'll help you figure out if, you know, medicine, healthcare is what you want to do with your life. Also keep track of what you do, when you do it, and how many hours you spend doing it, and contact information for somebody who is there, because everybody will ask you for that on your applications. Okay. And I kind of got ahead of myself and said all that here. Okay. And then some ways to get involved. Research looks really good. The pre-health advising class has has a listserv. So you can email them. Their email's on a different slide, but you can email them to join, and they have a lot of opportunities for jobs, volunteer events, or like organizations that want returning volunteers, not like a one-time thing. There's also a lot of clubs that are student health focused. So AMSA is one of the biggest ones. It's the American Medical
Student Association.
Medical Student Association, yeah. So they do a lot of stuff not just for pre-med, but also for dental students, veterinary students, nursing students, you know, all the health sciences. There's also a lot of medical schools in the Valley, And it's a really cool thing to take advantage of because they all have a lot of really cool events. Mayo Med School has Med School 101, so they're really highly ranked, and a lot of them look for Arizona natives to be part of their class. U of A Medical School is also like right across from the Arizona Center. They also have like awesome programs and webinars and anything you can think of they have. So the listserv and AMSA, they both do a lot of marketing for U of A, so definitely get on those. You can also volunteer at a hospital. If you volunteer at a hospital, you might not get as much clinical experience unless you volunteered for a really long time. So make sure that you give yourself time to actually work that into your schedule and to spend enough time there that they'll trust you with more clinical experience and stuff. And then secondly, lastly, you can get a job that will give you clinical experience, which is awesome because you get the resume boost and you also get paid for it. So some things include scribing, medical transport. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. So there's scribing, medical transport. You can be a tech in the emergency department. And you can also be an interpreter. Do you speak Spanish? Yeah. So here, for example, it's really important.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised by how many doctors and nurses don't speak Spanish.
If you get assigned.
It could help in terms of like when you're trying to get a certificate because you have to usually take like tests
Okay.
and get certified. So it usually helps to have like that not just be a native speaker but also know all the grammar rules. Okay, and then the application cycle. It is super long. It's a doozy, it really is. And then there's 3 different applications. There's AMCAS, which is the traditional Doctor of Medicine program. And then there's a Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine programs. Before there used to be more of a distinction, but now it's pretty much the same. It doesn't really matter if you go to an MD or DO school because all the residencies are combined now. And the TNDSAS is just any medical school under your DO, I believe it's DO2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just in the state of Texas.
Oh.
Texas is special, so they have their own applications. And what I would advise everybody doing multiple times in their whole pre-med journey is asking yourselves these 2 questions. And the reason I say it is because it's hard to be a doctor. You really don't get paid as much as you think. You have a ton of debt at the end. And it's really rigorous, and it's only getting more rigorous. Not politically, but like all the policies regarding healthcare, they're very up in the air right now, and they put a lot of pressure on doctors. So you kind of have to be realistic about what's done. What your life is going to be like at the end of 7 years of school, and a lot of debt. And that's not to discourage anybody. I think, obviously I'm doing it, so I think it's worthwhile and I think it's amazing. But just really take the time and think about it. Okay. And then pre-health advising. If one thing you take away from this presentation, it's pre-health advising. They are literally an awesome resource for any pre-med student. It doesn't matter if you're pre-medical school, nursing, dental, whatever. They're really awesome because they help you with the application process and timeline. So I just gave you a really quick overview of it, but there's a lot of detail and like little things that you can miss. They also, on their website, they have the list of student organizations and clubs. They help you develop and they help you review your personal statement. So the personal statement you need to apply, and it's really important. It's like the first thing that schools use to kind of get to know you, and it's kind of their first impression of you. So it's really important, and you really want to make sure that it's the best it can be. And then they also do mock interviews, which is awesome because they will grab local experts from whatever field you're interviewing in, and they'll interview you so you can practice for any interviews you may get. So you can make appointments by phone, and they are located on the 4th floor of the Health South building. Do you guys all know where that is? Yeah. Okay. Good. So make an appointment with them, please. Okay, more resources, career and professional development services on the second floor of the post office. They also help with your personal statement. They're not so much focused on professional schools, so just keep that in mind when you apply. But it's always good to have like, another resource, or if you want somebody else to look at it. Secondly, they have a lot of connections with different organizations in the Valley, so they can help you locate like an internship or some kind of program that would be beneficial to you. And then another really great resource is the writing center. So if you need help just like with grammar, stylistics, you want feedback, you want somebody to proofread it, they're really good at proofreading. Personal statements, resumes are great for you. And they're located in South Miami. And here are some programs that you can do before medical school to enrich your resume. So the Pathways Scholars program is more of like a bridge program to the U of M Med School. So you do kind of a master's degree, but you get a certificate at the end. And if you complete all the milestones successfully, then you're guaranteed acceptance into the medical school, which is really awesome. One, because you bypass the application process and the interview. But it's kind of like a strict policy on who qualifies for that. So you have to be from rural Arizona, from a socioeconomically disadvantaged family, like as determined by Health and Human Services, I think that's what it is. And they have that technical information on their website. So if you guys sign up on that like blank piece of paper, I'll send you guys the presentation and you'll have a link to all of these programs. And there's also Blazer, which is also through U of A, and that's a summer research opportunity to promote diversity in biomedical research. So that's another really awesome program to enrich your resume. And there's also Summer Scrubs. So Summer Scrubs is actually a program for high school students, but as undergrads, you can be counselors for the program, and you get to mentor students, and you get to do the same activities that they do, which are actually really, really cool activities. If you guys know Andrea Fuentes, she did it, and you can talk to her about it, because she had an awesome time.
And Andrea, if you guys don't know, she's our tutor, lead
tutor, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, lead tutor.
And then, since that one's just a summer program, the application will open in December for next summer. And that's typically the timeline that they go through. Okay. And then another really cool perk that ESU has is that they partner with Princeton Review so that you can do free testing for the MCAT, for the LSAT, for the GRE, and I think also for the PCAT, which is from pharmacy school. So any of the self-paced online programs are free, as long as you take the test within a calendar year of signing up. So that one right there, you have to do a paper and then fax it to them or email it to them, and they'll send you books, flashcards, and access to an online portal. So for the MCAT in particular, it has 13 full-length practice tests, which is a lot. Practice tests are really, really expensive, so take as many free ones as you can get. And then typically what they recommend is that you set aside 6 to 9 weeks after completing all the prerequisite courses. So the MCAT, it focuses on pretty much all the prereq subjects. And it's kind of like fair game on how many questions from each subject you get. So that includes physics, biology, chemistry, biochemistry, organic chemistry, sociology, psychology, which is why it's a 7-hour test. So definitely, I would definitely recommend not taking it until after you finish all those classes, and then setting aside like dedicated study time for it. Also keep in mind that the whole test is 7 hours long, and if you don't practice taking 7-hour long tests, then you are going to burn out a bit. So definitely take the full-length practice exams. Okay, and then the fee assistance program is what I was referring to by like help to apply to medical school. So the fee assistance program is specific to the MD application. And it helps you with the MCAT fee. So the MCAT fee is usually, I want to say $350 $350,
It's 310.
310. So if you qualify for this program, it goes down to 120. So it's a lot. You get free or reduced price MCAT rentals, which if you do the person review stuff is kind of irrelevant. But the general application for the schools is significantly less expensive for up to 16 schools, which 16 schools is the average. It sounds kind of like a lot, but it's the average amount of schools that people tend to apply for. And then the people who are eligible, you just have to be a citizen in the U.S., permanent resident, or have DACA, refugee or asylum status. And then again, they go by the Health and Human Services guidelines for the poverty level. And then, because a lot of people do apply for this, you do have to apply early. That's the key in all this. Apply early, apply early for everything. And they have special, frequently asked questions for almost any subject you can think of. So I would definitely look at those if you're going to plan to apply for that. And they have a YouTube tutorial for how to fill out the application because their system is a little finicky. So definitely watch it just know it's a little tedious. And then you can contact them by phone or by email. So I apologize for the bottom. I updated it, but it didn't say. I'm not sure. I didn't find anything for the DO applications or the Texas applications. So I'm not sure if they actually have one, but the assistance program is just for the MD application and for the MCAT. All right, so final thoughts to tie everything back together. Work hard, don't be discouraged, focus on your grades, get involved, do really cool things. You have time, you don't have to hurry like I did, and think back later and be like, dang, I wish I could have done this, or I wish I had applied for that. And then secondly, just persevere, keep going. And then if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from all of you. If you guys have friends that have questions, you can give them my email address. I would give you guys my phone number, but I'm going to be on an island and I'm not sure what the phone situation is going to be like, so I don't want you guys to call me or text me with a question and then they would no response.
In other words, Gabby's going to the island and she doesn't want you to bother her. And she's chilling out on the
I'll be
beach.
studying by the beach. But after all that, you guys have any questions?
I'm just gonna ask that if anyone wants the PowerPoint or the Prezi and you didn't give us your email, make sure you give us your email, okay?
And the things that I passed out, you have the Summer Health Professional Education Program, which is really a program here in the U.S. that's aimed at working with students who are freshmen or sophomores in college with and GPA requirements putting minimum 2.5. It is a program that I believe is fully funded. It would be worth checking the website just to double check. That's how it's been in the past. Whether there's been some type of scholarship funding for students to go through. This is really working with trio-ish students that fall like our first gen high financial need category. And then as Gabi mentioned, the U of A Blazer program is aimed at your junior year and beyond. And they do have a little bit higher GPA requirement of 3.25, but that's actually going down to Tucson and going down to the U.S.-Mexico border. So you also will need your passport. You're going to be working across the border doing health clinics and things like that. And that will also give you a stipend for the summer of, I think, $3,000 and also up to 6 units of undergraduate research credit. So those are some things to look at early, make sure that you're getting on top of. And if you have questions, reaching out to Gabi, myself, or one of the health professional advisors so that we can steer you in that direction and help you answer those things and get those really competitive letters there. And I still work with a lot of people that work with the U of A. So if you're interested, see me early so that I can get your name to them so that they'll know that there's that recommendation coming from TRIO.
Do you guys have any questions for Gabby? Don't be shy.
Yeah, even about moving down to the island.
Are you excited, Gabby?
I'm really excited. I'm on my 4th time packing. I'm trying to stick to one bag. And it's so hard to pack your life away in one check-in bag.
What island are you going to?
Dominica? It's down. If anybody knows where Martinique and Guadeloupe is, it's right smack dab in between those two. It's at the same, what is it called, latitude as Venezuela, but at the end of the Caribbean.
Did you minor in anything?
I did not.
Okay.
I studied abroad in France, and I did. My minor in French, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a little studies with a minor in French. So nothing health related. So even if like your major isn't like a science major, as long as you do your prereqs, you're eligible to apply to medical school or I think the same is true for PA school. I'm not sure about pharmacy school. I was over.
I'm not sure either.
Where I was headed.